2022 Endurance E-Racing World Championship brought to you in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriots, Aztec Sim Sports, Global Flix, Motorvision.tv, Stengolm, ESTV and Film Vault Limited.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Just think about the fun things you do online. Diving into movies you love. Shopping. Enjoying free Wi-Fi with your morning coffee. Wait, who's that guy? Meet the Digital Snooper. It can be your internet service provider peeking at what you do online. Or a cyber criminal on a mission to snitch your credit card info. Or a hacker at the next table trying to steal your sensitive data. Uh-oh. But don't worry. NordVPN keeps all these snoopers away. It makes your internet activity private, protects you from accessing dangerous websites, and lets you enjoy your favorite content securely, even while away from home. The best part? It's just a click. Yep, internet security is that easy.
You can get NordVPN today at a 60% discount by visiting gtr24h.org/VPN.
Welcome back to the GTR 24H EEWC round number 3. It's race day here at Sebring, and the drivers are just partaking in a last session warm-up. 1.5 minutes of that remaining before we hit the grid. 12 hours here of this very bumpy, very testing, trying American classic. Chris Buxton, Kieran McGinley in the box at the moment. We will have our wonderful Yusuf Binti Heil jumping in from time to time to give one of us a break at least. But for now, Kieran, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rumble.
Me too. I'm looking forward to this one, seeing what can happen. We've seen the GTEs and the GT3s have been very, very close. The hypercars have been, well, I say Miranda's E-Stars have been really on form today. Can anybody stop them in the hyper class today, in the hypercar class, I should say, today? And with LMP2s, there's always something to look at in LMP2. They'll be battling away, and with traffic here at Sebring, should be very, very close to call here. Respect the bumps. We've already seen plenty of back ends falter this, well, over the past weekend or so. Many back ends being lost at turn 1 and going through Sunset Bend, where people ride just low enough so that the bumps have a huge effect. Let's see how they all plan out.
Respect the bumps. Copyright Kieran McGinley. Yes, anyone that isn't is going to be finding themselves facing the wrong way, and as Kieran said, we have seen plenty of that as time has gone on. So then, warm-up session is just winding down now, and then we will be... it has indeed expired, so we are just waiting for the session then to form the grid. Oh, come on, let's go. This is where the adrenaline and the excitement is all bubbling over. It's all the nerves are going to be really raw at this point, aren't they? So just waiting then for the grid to be formed, and then formation lap done, and all the talking and posturing will be dealt with, and it is time to see the action live. But, of course, we have to wait for the server to do its thing, the drivers to get into position, and for business to get underway. I'm just looking at the timing screen. It looks like we're in the transition now. There we go. Safety car is ready to do its thing. Now, it will be a full lap behind the pace car, I believe, so we'll have a bit of a time to talk before we get this amazing race underway. Who is going to fall victim of the bumps? Who's going to be dislodging and their rear wings? We saw a few of them go to the marshals as souvenirs. We will see.
Will indeed, and wherever you're watching us in the world, welcome along. If you want to have a chat with us, make sure you're in the YouTube chat. Joao Barbosa is very excited in our YouTube chat as the pace lap does get underway here at Sebring. And of course, make sure hashtag GTR24H. If you want to tweet at the commentary box, you can indeed. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely, and of course the pace car is a Corvette. It just wouldn't be cricket, would it, if it was a non-American brand that's leading this field away. And look at that, everybody resplendent in their colours, and we are led through turn one. Of course, it's a GTR emblazoned Corvette. Again, it wouldn't be one of our broadcasts if it wasn't. We own that, of course, but we commentators don't get to play with the toys. Only the management gets that. Through turn one, then, we saw quite a few rear wing deposited on the outside of that particular turn, and I suspect we're going to be seeing quite a bit of it again. Down towards turn two, this is where we saw a few questionable rejoins over the course of the week. There were several places, but there was particularly here in turn two. The bumps don't really relent anywhere. Again, just because of the twisty nature of the circuit, and it's bumpy everywhere. These drivers have got to really, really focus for probably more than they would usually like to in an endurance event. But again, you've got to respect the bumps, exactly as Kieran said. You've got to keep your eye. You've got to keep your focus the whole time. So particularly later on in the race, when fatigue is going to start kicking in, we're going to start seeing some mistakes. So whilst the likes of Burst Esports are controlling the roost at the moment, doesn't mean there will be by the end of the 12 hours.
Absolutely, and we'll just have to wait and see here. Yeah, you see the pace car starting to speed up now, so the rest of the field will have to follow. You'll see as well there's a little bit of a gap between the hypercars and the LMP2s and the GT cars, and that's just so that there is a little bit of buffer in towards turn one, because the last thing we want is someone to lose control in one of the higher classes and one of the GT cars to mop up. That's not necessarily what the drivers want, so they'll hang back just a little bit so that they can get through their own turn one in their own way. But coming in towards the halfway into the lap then, and well, the tensions are high. If you had a chance to grab your popcorn here in the halfway stage of the EEWC, that's where we'll be in around 12 hours time. Go do it now. In fact, get a popcorn, just get one every hour. That's how you'll know the progression of time in this race. One an hour, you should be fine.
Absolutely. We're just seeing on our own cameras, Mitchie Hoyer for the Burst Esports Complexity Squad suddenly gesticulated, so hopefully there's not trouble already for the number 18 cars. What quite he was gesticulating at, I'm not certain.
I think it was because race control said we're going to speed up, and then the car in front of him didn't speed up. Something like that. That looked to be what that case was. But we've got a four-way split here, and hopefully we'll be picking up the lead-up of each class and seeing how they all pan out through turn one. Should be an excellent one. Mr. Buxton, take us through this race start.
Oh, I certainly shall. So the field then comes through Le Mans Curve. Again, it's going to be an interesting area there. They're coming through there at a kind of medium-ish speed. I say medium because, of course, it depends on the car. So I can't say they come through this at 100 kph when some cars obviously won't be anywhere near that. But heading down towards the Ormond Straight into Sunset Bend, the bumpiest part of the circuit, and that's going to be where most cars are catapulted out of control. So into the big old camera, and as the field start to work their way through Sunset Bend, oh, that's getting fidgety already. Come on, calm down, we haven't even got underway. So pace car pulls in, green flag, green lights or lights out, according to the wheel. We are racing here in Sebring, and already lots and lots of side-by-sides, as you imagine, all four categories then getting the hammer down and starting to really mean business. Now, we did see side-by-side. Look at that, Bertie Sport, he's already in the lead. Car's already heading towards, I think that might have been Denis Shashenko that was heading backwards towards the wall at turn one, but no one has deposited their rear wing there just yet. It did look like, indeed, Michi Hoyer has indeed gotten up into the lead. There's Nabil Aslan in the 721 car, as you can see, 79 axle squad, not car number 21, I should say. Lots and lots of cars to try and keep up with. I don't envy our production team for trying to keep up with everybody. Oh, that's getting very close. Now, yes, it's a 12-hour race. You don't gain too much by fighting so hard so early on. But let's face it, the racing instinct kicks in. You want to be getting into at least a rhythm, and to do so, you want to be as far up the field as you can get. There is the adrenaline car, Sebastian Deville. We saw him backwards into the wall, particularly coming out of Sunset Bend a few times. But it looks like so far so good.
So far, so good. Everyone just about made it through turn one. Everyone tiptoeing their way through. As James Juba here in the 164 Satellite, looking to try and get past Nabil Aslan in the 79 axle machine. And we go picture in picture at the moment. Manuel Yankalila, we were following him at one point, but you see there James Juba just trying to put that pressure on and see what happens. There's the Glam Racing machine trying to go, what's that now, going up the inside. There's Chris. There's just simply too much going on for us to realise, as that was the viaducting car. I think that was moments ago, possibly hitting the wall. Yes, it was. Big time as well, very early on in this race. That's a very odd place to lose the back end, and then just for good measure, hitting the tyre wall too. That is a worst possible start of a team by Buxton. Only minutes into this race, they're going to have to come back to the pits for major repairs.
That looks like a technical fault of some description, either as some kind of game freeze or steering wheel issue or something like that, because there was no steering going on as that car came to rest. But further up, there's Denis Shashenko on the back of, I think he's got some LMPs ahead of him, so that's not an ideal situation for him. So there's Jimmy Nusela for the Mirantis Us, still nailed to the back of Michi Hoyer, leading the way. There is James D'Souza now in fourth for the LMP2s. That's the adrenaline car that we're looking at, I think, or we did briefly. Again, was looking at so many side-by-sides going on. Yellow flag out there, sector 2, didn't see who that was. That's the lead battle. So the 18 car, Michi Hoyer, did manage to get a great start and got alongside and ahead of Jimmy Nusela before they even got through turn one. That's on board with the number 64 Maradnis E-Stars car, working their way through the lap. Of course, we're right at the beginning of daylight hours. It's 25 degrees track temperature, so it's absolutely ideal racing conditions at the moment. Of course, proper time progression will descend us into darkness before the race concludes. So, and if the rain has its way, we may well be seeing rain in the dark hours as well. So that's going to be amusing. It's good fun for us. That is, I suspect that is waiting for the overlay to update to tell us who's in that car. I thought it was Denis Shashenko in the fifth place DPI car. So he's got the three LMP2 cars directly ahead of him. So the pace difference between LMP and DPI is not colossal here. Oh, wow, that's getting lively. Oh, no, that's one of the Porsches off. That was running his suit. It's gone past, that's Max Bunovic, I think. No, a big pardon, it was Eros Misuli that's gone off the road. It was the 53 car that's gone for a wander. Whoa, Struth. We see Kaspersky in the Audi almost coming to grief with the aforementioned number 53 Porsche. Now the GTs and GT3s are, again, very, very similar pace between the two. That is the Unison Racing BMW. That is Max Bunovic in control of that one, right behind Ronan Sukes in the Mugen car. almost going side by side. Oh no, as the 717 bounces off the inside wall, tries to get alongside. Oh, that's dicey. Considering how many oversteer moments we've seen, that's a fairly decent move then for Bunovic. He's now got the inside line again for turn 2, and that is third in the GTEs as Six tries to cut back underneath the 717 Unison Racing BMW. Can't quite do it at the moment. The picture, that's Darius Andre in the 15 Dudes Motorsport car. Now he is in a great position, second place in the LMP2s. The car directly ahead is Denis Sashenko in the DPI class. But Daniel Scavron, there you can see the white 94 Burst Esports Scooter Sunglasses car a little bit up the road, so he hasn't got too far to challenge the top spot at the moment. We're looking a little bit further back in the GTEs. Michael Pedersen in the 166 in the 166 car. Now looking at Ulrich. We were looking at Ulrich Hoyer. There is the 6th place GTE car at the moment. That's actually Kasperkit already ahead. That's the Gadgethausen car.
Two things happening here at once.
There's too many things going on at once. The production is doing a great job trying to bring us action from absolutely everywhere. It makes it good fun to commentate on. Of course, we will settle into a rhythm and start to get into the usual endurance racing mode. But 10 minutes down, and the Team Viaducting car is they haven't made it back to the pits yet. The car is still moving, but it's or has it been through the? No, beg your pardon, it has been through the pits. So it's now back out on track, but it is of course stone dead last.
And I believe we're going to have a replay here of turn 1 very, very shortly and try and unpack and unravel what on earth happened through there. But at the moment, then, Burst Esports Simplexity, Michi Hoyer leading the way. Radis starts the wheel, Jimmy Nisela in second place in DPI. And look at this. That's contact there, further back. And that will be why we saw one of the DPIs, Denis Sashenko, further back because he was a little bit of contact made and then fall right behind the LMP2. So he's had to fight his way up through the order, which I think he has done now. And in the GTs as well, I mean, very much using, I mean, I guess that's what the outside of turn 1 is there for. But, I mean, did we tell these drivers it was a 12-hour endurance or was it a 12-hour sprint? I do forget these things. But
12-hour sprint, love it. That's I'm game for that. I believe that was Alex de Jong in the 79 Axel car that just had that big moment of understeer that sent him wide, and Denis Sashenko was the one that ultimately paid the price for that. However, plenty of time to recover from such things. As we now look at Alvaro Incusti in the 27 MCM Motorsport car. At the tail end of the GTEs at the moment, but right on the back of Tom Kapusta in the Satellite Racing number 264, right ahead of him. There's the picture-in-picture of Jimmy Nussler. Well, that's actually Michi Hoyer, but Jimmy Nussler is there. The lead battle. They've been glued together all season, let alone all session. So I suspect they're going to be glued together all race long. Of course, we will have driver swaps going on. No one is going to do all 12 hours all on their own. Wojciech Polesny towards the sharper end of the GTEs. He's chasing Manuel Biancalida. Busto Pescara, number 54 Porsche, right ahead of him. And yeah, we're not going to be seeing any kind of letting anybody go this time. It's all going to be slipstreaming and pressure application. Getting up towards Sunset Bend. Porsche ahead of Aston. Who is going to come out on top of there? Well, there's no immediate challenge for the position at that point. Again, riding on board, bearing in mind the cars are very, very heavy at the moment. They're brimmed to maximum with fuel, and you can still see how they're chucked around by the bumps. The GTE cars do ride the bumps a little bit more comfortably than the LMP prototype cars do, but even still, they are thrown around something chronic as we've got a pass going on there. Oh, that is close. Very, very close indeed.
A replay.
Oh, Lucas Vela for CKR. That's gone horribly wrong at Sunset Bend. That's a replay going on there. So the tail's let go. Has he kept it out of the wall is the crucial part. Still rotating. No, he's off. He's actually exiting the circuit now, going in that direction. So that's a wonderful bit of parking. That's going to take a while to get out of. But, bravo for artistic impression there.
Well, he managed to get out of it eventually, but yes, you're right. That is absolutely not ideal. hitting the wall there and bouncing back would have been actually probably the worst fate. The fact that he's only clipped it and then gone right into a gap, there's probably less damage there, as we see then Juice's Motorsport Club trying to find a way through. Sorry, Satellite Racing trying to find a way through against Alvaro Incausti at the moment, but Incausti at the moment in the MCM has made his way through. So Tom Kapusta in the 264 Satellite dropping a position to MCM Motorsport. We have yellow flags in Sector 3. Can't find where they are, so that must have been a bit of a moment, but they're back underway. And as we see, picture in picture, battle for the lead of GTE in the main picture, and in the top right, battle for DPI. It's been really, really close at the moment. The only one who's fallen really afoul has been Buxton. They've managed to, well, early on in the first lap of the race, lose control. Now, whether that was a technical fault, it did look very, very odd as a driver error. We're probably going to put it down as a technical fault. They have come back to the pit. They are still in this race, but we see then on the right-hand side, Wojtek Polesny trying to find his way past Manuel Biancolina for the lead of GTE. He might look for a move up the inside, but it's such a tricky place to get a move done unless you're side-by-side through turn one. And then, of course, it's very wide, then all of a sudden just narrows down in the blink of an eye up towards turn two. And Polesny here, I think wisely thinking, maybe just keep the pressure up for now.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's very tempting to overdrive, push too hard in so early on in an endurance race to improve your position. Now, we're already seeing the leaders now causing the blue flag. Oh dear, that's not ideal. Michael Pedersen is in trouble in the 166 car. We kind of caught the end of that, so not quite sure what happened there. But that's not ideal. No, Tom Kapusta was in there. Oh, he dropped it on his own. Yeah, oh dear.
So he went up the inside, but then just carried a little bit too much speed through, and the rear end said, "You're having a laugh," and then made contact then, just an innocent bystander with one of the Porsches there, I think. But yeah, just unfortunately just a little bit too much speed through, and that sent the car around.
Now traffic management is going to be part of the game, and there we go, nicely done there by Lucas Vela in the CKR car. Now, as a reminder, as is usually the way in endurance racing, it is up to the faster car to figure their way past the slower ones. Slower cars are not obliged, and indeed are discouraged from jumping out of the way very suddenly of the faster cars coming past them. If they're being lapped by their own class, yes, they must make an effort to get out of the way, because of course the pace difference isn't so big in your own class. But the GT cars are not obliged, and like I said, they're discouraged from jumping out of the way, because the last thing that the faster classes want is for a GT car, or indeed an LMP, any car, to jump in their way, trying to be helpful, and actually going into the line they've just planned for. Wojtek Polesny goes through, really hustling hard for the lead of the GTEs. That's actually saying that he's in the lead. He's not quite. He's side by side with Manuel Biancolina. That's allowing Max Bunovic right behind, side by side through turn one. Oh, that's determination from the man from the Czech Republic, and the man from Italy as well, in fairness, but neither of them giving any quarter. You can argue they can afford to battle this hard because they're in the lead of the class, but that's just allowing Max Bunovic in the Unison car to stay with them. There you go, you can see in that particular shot. Is it wise to battle this hard so early on? Take your pick, insert answer here. But in my opinion, they're not really going to work together, are they? So, Hyshenko! Oh dear, a tap on the side of the 404 Glam Racing Audi there. And both of them are a similar colour, but yeah, Dennis just locked up a little bit there, trying to work his way through the traffic. Oh, sideways. Here we go again. This is a three-way fight now for the top of the GTE class. Now, this gives us lots to shout about. I don't think we had a shortage of things to shout about. Oh, no! Oh, that's Biancolina that slams into the wall. I'm going to give second to Bunovic for Unison Racing. Oh, that Porsche is going to be horrible to steer now. That was a big hit off the wall. Just how much suspension damage will there be as they try to battle side by side, and all Max Bunovic did was just watch on, and you'll see here there might be a little bit of lock of wheels, and yeah, for the Musto car there's just already too much speed through there. Then the contact's made, it just sends him into the wall there. Yeah, how much suspension damage, how much damage to the car will there be, how much will that affect the steering? We then jump straight to the battle for the lead in hypercars at the moment. Michi Hoyer still at the 18 here, a Burst Esports Simplexity, a cry from
production. This is so hectic. I agree. Here comes Jimmy Nisela trying to go round the outside in the Moradnes E-Stars car, round in towards Sunset Bend, but respect for the bumps there was wayward, and he's able to drop back in, but loses a bit of time. And this really now, traffic management. We didn't see a lot of this in qualifying. Everyone was generally well behaved, but now in the early stages of this race, they have to be so careful. And around goes Lance Hughes. At turn 1, made the contact there. There'll be yellow flags. The rest of the field coming through has to be careful. And that's the DIS Sim Racing Lab car getting wayward as well. And, well, just about recovered there was that BMW. My goodness, that was so close. And here comes Sebastian Deville trying to battle away here with Denis Eschenko. Now, Eschenko was on the outside of turn 1 and lost positions to LMP2 cars. He's now brought that car back up to 4th place in class. That's a fantastic start from Denis Eschenko, considering where he started turn 1.
This is bonkers. I love it. This is great fun for us. The drivers must be having an absolute blooming mare, though. They're really... I suspect they're kind of really not wanting this much action, but it's great for us. We now look at Max Bunovic. You clearly tell that Biancalida is not able to keep pace with GTEs now that he's got those. He's still in 3rd, but he's now fallen really behind that lead battle for class. We look at Iris Mussolini in Mussolini? No, that's not right at all. Musili in the 53 car. Musili, what am I on about?
I'm worried about you, Chris.
Oh God, so much.
You see, look on board with Eros Mashuli when it gets towards Le Mans and then up towards the Allman Straight. You watch on board. If we can get back on board, you'll see he's actually steering to counteract a little bit of damage in that 53 Mustang Pescara car. So there is damage to that Porsche. So that's going to have to be managed, and the DIS Sim Racing Lab machine right behind as well as they head their way up towards Sunset Bend. And there goes the CKR car up the inside and gets a little bit of grass just for good measure as Lucas Verla. We saw him really sideways and backwards. As there goes. No, that's the Telefonigan car. The 188 Gert Nielsen at the wheel of that one goes off track. Did he make contact with the wall? Couldn't quite tell, but Lucas Verla gets a position up here as we ride on board with, I believe this is Vojta Bolesny, who's leading the Juices Motorsport Club car in the lead of GTE, but right behind him Max Bunovic in the that's the DIS Sim Racing Lab car. Around and so involved was the 53 of Eros Mashuli in the Mustang Pescara car. This has been absolutely mad, this start of the race.
This is absolutely insane. I can't believe how many incidents we've had, but Sebring giveth and Sebring takes it away. It is a very difficult... Whoa, look at that. That's the DIS Sim Racing car way too hot going into turn 1. And of course, with the field so condensed, that was unfortunate. There was no way that the 53 car could have avoided that.
I mean, he did a superb job, Mashuli, there to try and avoid that. I think there was a slight bit of contact there, but bear in mind that Sim Racing Lab car came straight back onto the track after spinning out. They did a phenomenal job to make sure that was the lessened impact possible, especially with an already damaged car, as we see then, I think that's Spencer Horvat in the number 77 Team Iris trying to make its way through the field now, 5th in class, and that's the car directly ahead of it, the Juices Motorsport Club in the LMP2 class as well. I really feel for production. This has been a hectic start to this race. We did hear a cry from them in our ears. There's so much going on. No, you're doing a fine job, production. It's so mad, the start of this race. I don't think Matsusaka was this mad of a start. It generally calmed down after the first 10 minutes, but this could go on and on and on.
Yes, please. As far as I'm concerned, I'll have some of that. Back up to the top for the DPIs then. Jimmy Nusela still chasing Michi Hoyer. There's barely been more than half a second between those two cars. All right, barely more than a second, I should say, because as soon as I said that, the gap went up to about 0.8 of a second. But, so early in the race, that's fairly irrelevant. But Maciej Kaspersik is going for a bit of a bump through Sunset Bend. He's still nailed to the back of that is not class leader. That is the DIS Sim Racing car that he was on. We're on board with now, the spinning Porsche. Now, the only car that I can see that's been through the pits is actually the Team Viaducton car. So, despite we've had spins and impacts as the DIS Sim Racing car does a bit of lawn mowing on the outside of turn 1, no one's come in to repair their damage yet. And again, that makes sense. You've got a strategy you want to keep to. Of course, they know when certain drivers are going to be jumping into the car and things like that. So I can imagine that if the car is in a decent condition or a drivable condition, they're just going to live with it. But if they're going to lose so much time, then they may as well bring it in. There you go. You can see on the tower how much time that one impact, that one technical trouble had for Team Viaducton. 3 laps down so early on. That's not a huge amount in sim racing terms. Wrong phrase. That's habit for you. For endurance racing, 3 laps you can make up over the course of 12 hours. So in some instances, 3 laps is an impossible target to make back. But 3 laps you could make back if someone else has an issue or has a disconnect or whatever. 3 laps can disappear. Equally, that could become much worse. But the Viaducton car, all crucially, they haven't just had an issue early on and thrown in the towel, which is good to see. All of our runners are still going.
Yeah, it's great to see. And as you say, 3 laps is absolutely nothing when the space of 12 hours. And if you were going to get an issue, you'd rather it early on so you have all the rest of the race, all the rest of the 11 and a half hours to close up and to get rid of that time lost. We ride on board with, I believe, the DIS Sim Racing Lab on the front bumper as it now makes its way through in towards this long straight up towards Sunset Bend. Chucking the car in and hoping it sticks, and that's a little bit of a moment there, but just about managed to gather it up, I think, as we now ride back on board with the battle for the hyperclass cars. Burst Esports Simplexity, Michi Hoyer still leading the way. Jimmy Nisela is chasing him all the way in the 64 Maradnes E-Stars, and these two have been pretty inseparable all race long so far, as that was Alvaro Incausti in the MCM Motorsport machine trying to find his way through the field, and this, I don't think, no, this is a GT3 car right ahead of it, so this isn't a battle for position, this is just a battle to try and get ahead. I think that's the Aztec Sim Sports by Volante Racing, and that is someone off the road. That's one of the SM9 axle cars. Denis Yushchenko now has moved up into 3rd place.
That would be Alistair Young then in the number 11 SM9 axle car in the background of the shot, I believe. Oh, here we go again. Now, this is a bit of an awkward position, essentially, for Marcio Kaspersik in that GT3 car, in the 585 Audi. Now, he could allow, strictly speaking, he should allow Alvaro Incausti through. But as you can quite clearly see, he's not that much slower than the chasing Corvette. So, they're not in the same class, but he's clearly not slower. So it is a bit of an oddity there. The GT3 leader is Christopher Kieran from Mugensen Racing. They are not that far ahead, but they are a distance down the road. As that is Kaspersky that's wandered a little bit too wide there, coming through Tower. Now down towards Debian. That's cost him a little bit of time off the back of the DIS Sim Racing Porsche. And we're going to be seeing these two a lot, I dare say. Well, we're hopefully going to see everybody a lot over the course of the 12 hours. But these two in particular, I think, are going to hog the lion's share of the camera time. As just lap after lap after lap, corner after corner, they are just glued to each other. Oh, here we go. Is this an opportunity for Incausti to get past the Audi? No. And there you see that if there was such a big pace difference, the GTE Corvette would have just Aston, beg your pardon. I keep saying Corvette. The GTE Aston would have just blasted past the Audi, but very clearly didn't. Even in slipstream, when he jumped out of it, he just lost all his momentum. So Kaspersky isn't really obliged to jump to allow the 27 MCM car through, to allow Incausti through, because again, if he did, Kaspersky could actually then legitimately overtake the number 27 Mac again. Now, a slower class car can, by that entire sentence again, a slower class car can overtake a faster class car, and equally, you're allowed to unlap yourself from a car ahead of you as long as you do not impede the car that you've just overtaken. And that's a perfect case that Kaspersky, whilst that is an on-track position, it's not a class position. So, but they're on the same lap. So it's a little bit of a strange situation for him so early on. But he's doing the right thing. He doesn't have to jump out of the way, and it would look like the Audi would just not breeze past the Aston, but certainly keep him honest as we see the DPI leaders come past the CKR McLaren again. They're back up to speed. I can see from their lap times they're looking to close in on the 32 McLaren. So a little distance up the road. But after an early spin for the Brazilian Blazing car, they are still working their way through. It does look like, though, that the DPI leaders, the only thing that can stop them is themselves, because they are quite some distance. They're a good quarter of a lap now ahead of Denis Shevchenko in the 17 Unison car.
Yeah, and how far down the road do you say, let's work together? You know, let's not cost each other too much time here. Let's sort of work together, use the slipstream, and see how far we can get away from everybody else. That's a legitimate strategy. Or Michi Hoyer going up the inside of the Glam Racing car, then all the way through. Wow, that was brave. Well, brave. I'm going to go with brave, because he made that stick, and he had to make that one stick. And now coming up towards the 777 Gadget Who's It machine, making his way through now up towards Sunset Bend. And moments like that, decisions like that, can make or break a race. And for Michi Hoyer right now, slightly defensive in towards Sunset Bend. He doesn't care that we're through with the, well, almost through with the first half an hour. He's going to keep pressing on, pushing on, because Jimmy Nisula is really pushing him to the edge.
You're absolutely right. There is an advantage to working with your competitors to build a gap, particularly early on. But again, they are competitors. Are they realistically going to do it? I mean, Michi Hoyer and Jimmy Nisula have crossed swords many, many times, so they're not unfamiliar with the art of endurance racing. They know exactly what their cars are capable of, yada, yada, yada. It could be that Jimmy is just quite happy to stay in the slipstream, stay nailed to the back of Michi Hoyer. He's probably if that's the case, then Jimmy will be happier about that than Michi will be. And again, getting skitty coming through the hairpin there for, well, actually for both cars, but Jimmy in particular, as we were riding on board with him. It's one of these things that you don't really know, and I can't imagine they're communicating with one another. Of course, they're not on the same team. If they were teammates, we could understand them working together, but they're not, and they've crossed swords many a time. So, are they working together? Only they know. They could well do. That's Kaspersky coming past the Aston again. I've just realised. That's Inkowski. So that got lively. So yeah, the Aston did manage to get past him, but Kaspersky has thought, you know what, I don't fancy that. I'm going to jump back ahead of you again. That's actually cost them time. There's the DIS Sim Racing Porsche, well, along with an army of cars right behind them. Flash of the lights from Inkowski wasn't best pleased with it, but it was a fair move. There wasn't any bumping and barging going on. There's the fire ducting car, I believe, that's right ahead of them. So yes, it is. So that's another lap down for the number one, sadly, as they're now catching. That is Inkowski that we've just been looking at. That's coming past, or trying to come past Kaspersky. Now here is where you're going to see a perfect opportunity of what on earth do I do here? The slower cars, of course, got to mind their own business and get on with whatever the battles they're in. But they do have to be mindful of the fact that they've got the DPI cars screaming up behind them. So they don't want to jump in their way, but they've got to remain predictable for the faster cars to come past them.
They do indeed, and whilst we try and unpackage and pretty much just take a step back from this opening half an hour, it's been absolutely crazy. We're going to go to a commercial break here. We'll leave you with the action of the battle for the lead, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
The 2022 Endurance E-Racing World Championship brought to you in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Aztec Sim Sports, Global Flix, Motorvision.tv, Sten Goldman, ESTV, and Film Vault Limited.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. racing for green.
Just think about the fun things you do online. Diving into movies you love. Shopping. Enjoying free Wi-Fi with your morning coffee. Wait, who's that guy? Meet the Digital Snooper. It can be your internet service provider peeking at what you do online, or a cyber criminal on a mission to snitch your credit card info, or a hacker at the next table trying to steal your sensitive data. Uh-oh. But don't worry. NordVPN keeps all these snoopers away. It makes your internet activity private, protects you from accessing dangerous websites, and lets you enjoy your favorite content securely, even while away from home. The best part? It's just a click. Yep, internet security is that easy.
You can get NordVPN today at a 60% discount by visiting gtr24h.org/VPN.
Welcome back then, after the first half an hour of the 12 hours of Sebring here for the third round of the EEWC here at GTR 24H. We saw Inkowski look like he got away with the one during that commercial break with the battle there with the 585 Acitec Sim Sports by Volante racing machine. We think he got away with it, and looking back at it, he did. A battle not really for position, just for pride, I guess, and well, to be fair to the Audi, the 585, it's doing a really, really good job out there. All that's doing is it's allowing Christopher Mechanic to make its way. So here's the full screen version, if you like. Trying to get the way through, you see there the Audi sort of slows down. Inkowski tries to catch it, and I think he just about caught it there. And, well, since then, off screen, Inkowski has got back ahead of the Acitec Sim Sports by Volante racing machine. There you see they have swapped positions again, but this time it looks like Inkowski has laid down the marker and said, nope, you're not coming past this time. Driver and team into the pits. It is Maradness E-Starts. Jimmy Nisela brings that car into the pits.
All right, he's had enough staying behind Mitchie Hoyer. I'll tell you who has had trouble. Number 67, the Mugen Sim racing car, has had a disconnect. Ronan Sukes has, that car is now back in the garage. Now, I've seen that Ronan Sukes has reconnected certainly to TeamSpeak that obviously we're operating with. Oh, that looked lively for Ashenko there. But yeah, trouble for 67 Mugen Sim Racing. They've had a disconnect. Hopefully their car will be back out on track soon. But that is that's not ideal because they were going great guns in the GTE class. Now finding themselves quite some distance back from the field. Hopefully Ronan will be able to get that car back on track as quickly as possible.
Yes, sorry, Chris. We've had an update from Race Control that car 54 will be getting a drive-through penalty. So car 54, I believe, is one of the Mr. Pescara cars. It's third in class at the moment. That's for contact made with the number 67. That's the Mugen Sim Racing GTE car in turn 1. That's the latest from Race Control. So a drive-through penalty for the 54 that's currently third in class. Looking around, let's see. Yeah, we've seen the black and white unsportsmanlike flag. That means that the team has got themselves a penalty. And, well, 12 seconds is their next car, the sister car, the 53 Mustang Pescara car. So it may be a swap of positions there. We haven't really talked much about drive-through penalties. They'll probably cost you about 20 seconds here at at Sebring. There is Michi Hoyer, who's come into the pits a lap later than the 64 Miranda's E-Stars car. So the Miranda's E-Stars car, where did they rejoin? They rejoined right in the midst of the LMP2s at the moment, so they're going to have to try and make their way through. Interesting to see what this sort of stop is. I believe we've got Denis Shchenko in the 17 Unison Racing. We've got the 33 Team Adrenaline also due in for a stop soon as well.
From Kapusta for the 264 Satellite Racing Squad. We're just looking at there. That is the Glam Racing 404. Omri Koya. Right behind them now, I just spotted, there it is, the CKR car. He's been doing really well. Lucas Vela has been really gaining quite well on his next in line. There is Denis Shchenko now into the pits. Oh, beg your pardon, that's Michi Hoyer coming out of the pits. As we see James Tazuba coming past the camera. Where is Mr. Hoyer there? Where is he reappearing in relation to Jimmy Nusela? Well, there's Jimmy. And Michi's ahead of him. Michi is 2 cars ahead. So now, there they are. That is still Michi Hoyer and Jimmy Nusela. They've just now got Darius Andre for Jesus Motorsport in the way. Now, he's actually gotten out of the way there. Again, he wasn't obliged to per se, but he has opted to not sit in between the DPI cars, and it's straight back to business as usual for Burst and for Miranda Sea-Stars.
That's the real surprise, really, because Nisela came into the pits. He's actually now rejoined and had now, so he's rejoined behind. What's the sort of gap? 7/10 at the moment, so there goes the DS Sim Racing Lab up the inside of one of the Musto machines. Eris Masciuli there trying to fend off that position. That's for 4th in class at the moment as they make their way, rounding their way through this snaking section again, trying to find the inside line, but Masciuli is not offering that door. The door's not open. It's been locked shut for now. It might need a little bit of negotiating to try and get that move done for the DSM Racing. And unfortunately, we don't know who's in the car. Whoever's in the car is trying to move them early on in towards this final couple of corners. Now in towards Le Mans we will go, and back onto the Ullman Straight. And again, maybe a move going in towards Sunset Bend. Just in the top right-hand corner, we see Alistair Young in the number 11 come into the pit lane. What's going to happen then for the DS Sim Racing Lab? It's going to go for a move up the inside of the 53 Musto Pescara car, up the inside in towards Sunset Bend. And is that the position going to be held? There might be a momentum change towards the 53, but it looks like then DS Sim Racing Lab up a position. Nice move there up the inside.
Goodness me, it is all kicking off here, isn't it? Lots of racing, lots of action going on, which is exactly what we love to see. There is Jimmy Nusela, or you saw briefly, that's the CKR car that is gaining on Enricoya. Lucas Vela then looking to try and improve their position. How far are they behind their next in line? So Enricoya is... they can actually see the B32 McLaren as well, and the Gadget House car is not that far ahead of them either. There's a great potential four-way scrap forming there for position as Nusela Nusela and Michi Hoyer working their way through the traffic still. And that is Tonka Pusta in the 8th place Satellite Racing GTE car. Glad to see that Ronan Suits has managed to get the car back on track again following his disconnect. Of course, he's now plumb last. So Viaducton have actually unlapped themselves from someone. Of course, they were 3 laps down from the DPIs and having to really press on to try and make up for lost ground. There is the 32 car on the back of the Gadget Husit Treble 7. They've been running quite well, actually. Steven Salsgaard is doing quite a good job for the Gadget Husit car. Look at that. So you've got... quite a few battles going on here. That's the 7-9 Axel car. That will be Alistair Young. I think that's just gone past the back. Oh, that's trouble. That's 2. Oh, no. Oh, no. You saw just as he jinks out from behind behind the car he was chasing there, the 32 car. You just instantly knew that he was going into and nearly collects somebody who was eating the record track. So, the picture then. So that's the CKR car that's chasing Enricoya. And there, as the Gadget Husit car was essentially minding his own business, as soon as that 32 car jinked out from behind it, you could just see It's like if you play a shot in pool or golf or something, you know as soon as the shot's played if that's going to go well or not. It looked like the CKR car was going to go for a bit of a wander at that point. Oh no, I think we've lost Ronan Sukes again for the 67 car. I think he's had another disconnect.
It's a huge shame then for Mugen Sim Racing. They might try and see if they can get another driver into the car. Meanwhile then, Henri Koya is trying to fight back against Lucas Verla, who, Verla lost it at Sunset Bend very early on in this race. He's done a splendid job to get himself back up the order, but now, just going to have to try and negotiate his way through, as we see then Darius Andre in the Juices Motorsport Club car, 4th in the LMP2. There is Henri Koya, now down to 5th place as our timing standings upgrade and update. So it's been a really topsy-turvy start for CKA at this point in time. They've in the hands of Lucas Verla, they lost it at Sunset Bend. They managed to get themselves and park themselves in that gap between two barriers, which was amazing in itself. And now they're fighting all the way back up to 4th place. I've had a little bit of everything for Lucas Verla.
Somewhat, but he's doing a great job to make up for lost time. Now 4th in the GT3 class. Another car that's in trouble is the 77. With the Team Iris car, Bense Horvath is that car's in the pits, so whether they've had a disconnect as well is uncertain. But that's parked in the garage. Not sure what's happened to them, but alas, trouble then for the late arriving number 77 car. We'll see how that transpires, or if that situation changes as the day goes on. As we look at Tom Kapusta for the Satellite Racing number 264, he is behind Michael Pedersen. There's Manuel Biancalila, so he was leading the GTE class early on. I wonder if I think he's serving his drive-throughs, because it's a bit early for the GTEs to be in. So that, I suspect, is, yes, I've just seen the penalty disappear from the timing chart. So that is Manuel Biancalila serving that penalty for the 54 Musto Pescarati. Back out on track they come then, but down into 5th position they will re-emerge. There we go. There is Biancalila now right on the tail of, that's Eros Masciuli that he's chasing. So Porsche, that's a Porsche parade going on there, because there's a DIS Sim Racing Lab car right ahead of them.
Porsche parade, I like that, Mr. Buxton. Meanwhile then, this is Viducton coming in for a stop. This is going to be hopefully their first scheduled stop. We'll have to wait and see how they get on. Looks like the same driver might be in the car, but now we've got the two Musto Pescara Porsches battling for position. Now, if you're a team owner, are you looking at this one with intent? As we see one of the LMP2 cars trying to fight its way through, as I think that was the Sem 9 Axle machine trying to find its way through. Really interesting to hear if the team are sort of going to be battling away, or if there's going to be slight team orders there. I would assume, if anything, the 54 is going to be allowed through with not really much of a battle. Manuel Biancalila, after that drive-through, slightly now out of sync. So if I would assume, that's what's going to happen. But then again, Chris, I'm up here and those cars are out there.
Absolutely. That was Damien Scottron, the LMP2 leader, the Burst eSports Scooter car. Just looking at who's where on track, and that was the LMP2 leader coming through at a really inopportune time there. So he was really, really fighting hard to not take anybody off. On board then with Jimmy Nusala, still staring at the back of Michi Hoyer. So number 18 still not so much fending off the advances, but certainly sharing the same proximity to one another, the 18 and 64. A tiny bit more of a gap this time between Michi Hoyer and Jimmy Nusala. But still the battle for the LMP2 lead, no, wrong one, DPI lead, and of course overall race lead. And look at that, still very, very busy for Lucas Verla as he stares at the back of, that is Steven Salsgaard in the DSR Keta car. And there is Manuel Biancalila trying to make up for lost time following that drive-through penalty. So his next target will be the number 45, the DIS Sim Racing Lab Porsche, which is there. There you go. You can see it right ahead of him. As in the main picture, we can see who we're dancing around there. That is
B32.
The B32 car, yes.
I got one right, Chris. Yes. Get in. Get in. We love to see it.
You get many things right, Herr McGinley. You really do. You're the one keeping me on the straight and narrow.
Am I now? That's a bit scary. That's a scary prospect.
Not at all. Just something else. It's not so much I've only just noticed it, but I just want to highlight this really bright green part of the livery. Oh, this is interesting. So now Mitty Hoyer is caught slightly behind the CKR car. It's doing nothing wrong, minding his own business. That would have potentially cost him a bit of time, although Jimmy Nusler had to dance around Henrik Hoyer in the 404 Glam Racing car. There's the Gadget Hoosted car. It's blue on the left, right on the right. Makes making a spotter's guide a little interesting for that particular car. Don't oversteer. There we go. Jimmy Nusler has gotten through it. And Manuel Biancalida, as you can see in the picture-in-picture there, really looking like he's shaping up for a potential sort of application of pressure, you can argue, on the DIS car. Already ahead of them. Interestingly, the GT3 leader, Kieran, he's actually ahead of them. Mugen Sim Racing number 82. He's going great guns. Is actually, if you would, it's only got 2 of the GTEs ahead of them.
Yeah, absolutely. At the moment, then, we have a couple of teams not in the race so far, at least parked in the garage with no driver in it. The 67 at Mugen Sim Racing, the GTE car, is currently in the pits. Roland Schuss was the last driver behind that wheel. And also the 77 Team Iris LMP2 car. Benza Horvat was at the wheel of that car last time. That's currently in the garage as well with no driver in it. So, unfortunately for them, obviously they need to get to a certain point in the race to actually score the points. You get a bonus point for just making the checkered flag, regardless of where you finish. But you actually need to cover a bit of distance. Oh, that's one of the cars off there. That was the Burst Esports Simplexity car. I think in the LMP2, was it not? Correct me if I'm wrong.
It was it's the Goodyear Esports one. It's the LMP2 car. You're quite right. The 79 axle DPI car almost coming to grief with the LMP2 Burst Esports contingent. There is James Tsuba. That he's got a pack ahead of him. Who's caused a yellow flag? Don't know. Cleared too quickly. Yeah, I think that's the end of the road for the 67 Mugen Sim Racing car. Looking at who's connected and who isn't. Oh, that's close. That's James Tsuba in the 164. That's the lead of those 2 cars with the that is the Burst Esports car that is with the wave. Oh no, it's the 79 axle car. Excuse me. So that's not a battle for position, I don't think. Yes, it is. It's a battle for third. I was just thinking there can't be a lap apart already, and indeed they're not. Whoa, that was close. Oh dear. That could well be the Burst car. It is. No, beg your pardon. That's the 79 axle car. That's one of the liveries are similar at distance. That's Alistair Young that we just saw having a bit of a moment now on the dust on the inside line of turn 2. That is Manuel Biancalila that is now right. Well, he's been on the case of the DIS Sim Racing Porsche for a while. And he's not yet made a move past. He left the 53 Musto Pescara, so the sister car, quite behind. Whoa, that's a mistake then from DIS that Biancalila was trying to capitalise on. Couldn't quite pull alongside. Gave it a go. It was not an ideal overtaking spot at that particular point of the circuit, but it didn't stop him having a go. On board then with the 45 car. Is he going to be able to hold off Manuel Biancalila? Manuel's got the inside line coming into the hairpin turn. No, that is third position then going the way of the Italian. The number 54 moves up a place.
Does indeed, and how we needed that one. So now order is restored after their drive-through penalty. As we were riding on the bumper then in this replay, you'll see along the right-hand side, there's the Musto car up the inside, trying to sneak its way up the inside, which it executes perfectly there in towards the hairpin turn, then towards the Fangio chicane. But a nice move there from Biancalila, and now puts himself up into third place. 12 seconds behind the next car for position, and once again now with all those shuffling of pit stops done, we now have that lead for the DPI class back underway. But I don't think the DIS Sim Racing Lab machine Porsche is looking to concede defeat to this one, because now they're going to try and move up the inside, surely, in towards Sunset Bend. Biancalila sees that one coming. It's almost like he's telepathic. He can hear me. He defends the inside line now, going in towards Sunset Bend and try and get close to that wall as possible, as there's a little bit of a nervous reaction from the Porsche underneath him, but he manages to manage that well. Where is that Sim Racing Lab car? Doesn't look like it to try to move around the outside. In fact, yes, it is still behind, but there's Jimmy Nisela then right behind the Burst Esports Simplexity machine. Of course, after one pit stop, they are, again, nothing separating them as we approach the end of the first hour.
Indeed, there is on board with Jimmy Nisela, catching the battle that we've just been seeing between Biancalila and the DIS car. So Biancalila still the lead Porsche. I couldn't believe they were side by side coming through Sunset Bend, and it didn't end in disaster, considering it's the most bumpiest part of the circuit. The DPIs, they threading the needle through the Porsches. Oh, that's not Jimmy Nisela, that's the same 9 car. Oh no, that's the same 9 Axel car that's come to grief. I think that is, I thought that was RCR. I thought it was the DPI Sem 9 car. Didn't see who he bounced off of. I think it was Damien Scovron. It was, okay, just had it confirmed. Look at that, threading the needle for Jimmy Nisela, and there you go. So it was the Burst Esports LMP2 car that is indeed Damien Scovron that bounced off the side of Alistair Young in the Sem 9 Axle DPI car. So that's not for position, they're in 2 different classes. It's a bit unfortunate they came together. That's Lucas Vela on the outside line of the Gadget Husik car, Steven Salgas. Oh, has he got it done? What a move for the McLaren. That was a stunning effort there from Lucas Vela. He's on a mission. I mean, bearing in mind that he was down towards the back of the GT3s at the beginning of the race. He's absolutely flying now up to third.
He is indeed, and he was helped massively by the Gadget Husik car, just collecting a little bit of grass and really robbing from the momentum underneath the Corvette for Steven Salsgaard there. But take nothing away from Lucas Vela, who has turned this race around, and for CKR they are now back within the podium positions this early on. And considering the fact that they parked themselves between a gap in the walls, in the barriers at Sunset Bend, but 50 minutes ago, to see them now back into third place. Really good stuff from Lucas Vela. He's managed to regain that composure. He's a cool head on those shoulders and able to get those positions back up into third. A great first hour so far from Lucas Vela, albeit as well a very eventful one. Riding on board with Jimmy Nisela then, heading now up towards the hairpin turn before we then get away towards the Fangio chicane. See, I am learning.
Absolutely. Learned away, sir. Learned away. Nisela still attached to the back of Michi Hoyer. Will that battle continue to be that exciting when they change drivers? More than likely. Those two teams and sets of drivers are absolutely fantastic. In the picture-in-picture, you can see the CKR car, the Brazilian blazoned McLaren, ahead of the 777 Gadget Husik Corvette. There is Steven Salsgaard, essentially just minding his own business. I think Steven kind of thought, I'm not really on your pace here. Because Gadget Husik, they're just essentially just minding their own business. They haven't been too hot on the as far as fastest laps were concerned. Just double check the qualifying results. Where did Gadget Husik qualify? It was, well, they were 6th of the 7 GTE cars. So for them to be running third for quite some time is obviously a great way to start the race. But I think that they kind of thought, I'm not quite on your pace. You do realistically know who you're really challenging. So when you've got a faster car coming up behind you, especially with so long left of the race, not really worth having an argument with them. To just slow yourselves down, so you just let him go, and on they went with the race. So then, as the first hour completes, there was a yellow flag there for, I think that was the 717 Unison Racing car, Max Quinovic. We've just seen him be passed by our two leaders. The Michi Hoyer and Jimmy Nisela leading the way in the DPIs for Burst and Maradness, respectively. And Damien Scrovron for Burst leading the LMP2s. It's Wouter Pelesny for Juices leading the GTEs. And Christopher Kianek for Mugensen Racing leading the GT3s. First hour done, 11 more to go. We'll have a commercial break. I'll be right back with you after these messages.
2022 Endurance E-Racing World Championship brought to you in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriots, Aztec Sim Sports, Global Flix, Motorvision.tv, Stengolm, ESTV, and Film Vault Limited.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Just think about the fun things you do online. Diving into movies you love. Shopping. Enjoying free Wi-Fi with your morning coffee. Wait, who's that guy? Meet the Digital Snooper. It can be your internet service provider peeking at what you do online, or a cyber criminal on a mission to snitch your credit card info, or a hacker at the next table trying to steal your sensitive data. Uh-oh. But don't worry. NordVPN keeps all these snoopers away. It makes your internet activity private, protects you from accessing dangerous websites, and lets you enjoy your favorite content securely, even while away from home. The best part? It's just a click. Yep, internet security is that easy.
You can get NordVPN today at a 60% discount by visiting gtr24h.org/VPN.